analyst and reporter. It is the great Brian Windhorst. And you know what? We thought last night was a big night. Not as big as tonight.
Oh, yeah.
The Hoop Collective live at the Gotham Comedy Club here in New York City, open to the public. There's tickets still available or no?
You can try, but
Gotham Comedy Club. What a humble brag. You can try. And Wendy's the least braggadocious person ever.
If you want fun at 7:30 on a Tuesday night, we're here for you. Nothing says headliner like 7:30 on Tuesday.
It's you three. It's you, Ben
And it's
McMahon,
in between
and
two
Bonds.
finals
Come
games.
on
And
now.
special guests.
Special guests.
Yes. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see who shows up.
We'll see who shows up. Confident in that.
Yeah.
GothamComedyClub.com for more information on that. All right, Wendy, why did the Spurs win last night?
I think two reasons. First off, they came out with great mindset. They definitely went back to basics. Wembanyama had great energy. I mean, just watching him very closely over the last two rounds, I don't want to totally paint him with this brush, but basically you can tell, I think, in the first 2 minutes of the game about whether it's a good Wemby energy game or not. And normally you don't say that about star players because normally superstar players ease into games. They want their teammates to do it, and then they put on the capes late in the game. Wembanyama, I feel, is different. And I definitely feel like you could feel the 2 days rest because he had 3 dunks. Look, he had 1 dunk in the first 2 games. He had 3 dunks in the first 5-6 minutes. And so the Spurs getting back to their sort of basics and just very impressive to have. I mean, at this point, we shouldn't be surprised, but to have him, Castle, and Harper, 20, 21, 22 years old, in this environment play great games is an ode to the Spurs. The second thing is that down the stretch of the game, the Knicks fell into the habits that made them a 3 seed instead of a 1 seed, which is the ball stuck in Jalen Brunson's hands. And look, Jalen Brunson has won this team dozens of games and will win them dozens of more games playing that way. But their ceiling was somewhat limited by that. And it's very limited when you're going up against the Spurs because the Spurs put you in hell. It's what happened to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It happened to Ant Edwards, and Brunson is going to have. I'm never going to, of course, say he can't do it. You say Brunson can't do something, you end up looking like a fool. But him being highly successful in this series is going to be harder because of what the Spurs have defensively. He's shooting 37%, and he's got as many assists as turnovers in this series. And so, down the stretch of this game, that shared the ball offense that led to their 13-game win streak evaporated, and it made it easier for the Spurs to guard them, and it made it harder for them to score. Those two things were the big overriding factors, I think.
Wendy, one of the interesting adjustments that I thought Mitch Johnson made was down the stretch in the fourth quarter. He majored in a 4-guard lineup with Wemby.
That's right.
And you would think that the Knicks would hammer the Spurs on the boards, but the Spurs only got out-rebounded by 1 rebound in that fourth quarter. I'm curious to know, is that something that you think is sustainable in terms of that lineup, being able to attack the Knicks offensively and then not being able to be out-rebounded by the Knicks by a great disparity?
It shouldn't be. And that in game 2, the Knicks killed the Spurs with offensive rebounds. The Pat Riley, if I think in the second half alone in game 2, the Knicks had 3 different times where they got an offensive rebound and hit a 3-pointer. That is a backbreaker. And I remember thinking as I was watching that, Pat Riley, no rebounds, no rings. I mean, it's a basic thing, but it is so true. Well, that's why I thought Dylan Harper was so great yesterday. He had 9 rebounds. And, if you watch Dylan Harper in this series, you see what he's known for, his reckless abandon, the way he gets the ball and just flies to the rim and doesn't care. I knew that about him. I did not know until I really watched him closely in this round and the last round how great of a rebounder he is. He crashes so hard. And really, that was the thing with Towns that's disappointing is that the alignment that they had out there was Harper, Fox, Castle, who's obviously a beast, but not a center, and Vassell. That is a small lineup, and Towns was out there. Towns and Anunoby were out there, and they were not getting the ball. I mean, Anunoby had 28 points on 13 shots. He had 3 dunks and 3 threes, I think. He couldn't get the ball. Towns couldn't get the ball. I mean, Jalen was trying to do it. And, I do not want to say anything negative about that. It's just against the Spurs, that's not a winning strategy. I just don't think. I mean, he's going to have trouble against their size, and he had the ball stuck in his hand too much last night, bottom line.
Wendy, one of the big storylines heading out on Game 3 is obviously the officiating. Mike Brown was complaining about it last night. Do you have any issues with the way the game was officiated last night?
Obviously, this is a very physical series. Both teams are playing the Spurs play physical. You know, for all the talk about how the Thunder are a very physical team, the Spurs play roughly the same way. And what happened in this game was the officials were letting the physical play happen. And then there was just a point in the second. I mean, Mike Breen even at one point said on the broadcast, they need to start calling more fouls. Because it was, getting obviously Wembanyama got away with a cheap shot, dirty play on Brunson. No doubt about it. They missed it. Bad, no good. Should have been called for definitely an offensive foul, if not worse. And that play is obviously going to be ringing in the Knicks fans' heads today. But the Knicks were also being very physical, and then there was a moment in the second half where they just started calling fouls. And that, I think, is what is frustrating. And when the reason the free throw shooting has so much disparity, because the fouls were relatively even. I don't have the box score in front of me, but I don't think the fouls were out of whack.
No. The Knicks had 2 more fouls than the Spurs.
The free throws were out of whack because the Knicks got into the bonus both early in the third and early in the fourth quarters. And then those fouls started becoming free throws. And so now I know Mike Brown for over 20 years. I have covered him at times when he has made they go in the back and they have a discussion. And they say, are we going to make the officiating a story or not? Because there's been other times where Mike Brown has come out in the playoff game and said, where, LeBron got hammered in the head 12 times and only went to the line twice. And he said, I remember vividly him saying, we're a no excuse team. We don't believe in blaming the officials or whatever. And then other times when he's downshifted and then gone the officials. So my guess is that they had a discussion. I don't know this for sure. I want to be clear. But my guess is that there was a discussion last night. Do we go after officiating at this moment? And I suspect that the reason that they did was because they know how important that's going to be going forward in the series. Mm-hmm. Not only for them, but also for Brunson. They need Brunson to get the calls to get to the foul line, because I don't know if he's going to ever be able to be efficient shooting against this team.
We're talking with Brian Windhorst, ESPN NBA reporter, Insider Hoop Collective podcast. They have their event tonight with the Tims, Ban McMahon, and Bontemps. Windy, last night the Wemby play pushing Jalen Brunson to the ground told you what about Wemby?
I already kind of know this. For as polished as he is, and as how much he impresses us with his mind and everything, he has a childish streak in him. And like on this play here, Jalen steps back to him and says, "Why did you do that? Blankety blank." And he laughs at him. He shoved him in the head. He mushed him. And, I don't really want to make this a huge talking point, but he's already got 2 flagrant foul points in the postseason. Had he been called for a flagrant foul there, he would have had 3, and he'd been on the verge of a suspension. So, is
there any chance they give it to him after the fact?
I asked people last night, and they were just like, I don't think so. I mean, that's what happened with Draymond Green. Like, the thing that happened with Draymond Green, he was not suspended for that hit.
No, the accumulation.
I know that you'll never convince anybody ever in the world that he was not suspended for that. They awarded him a post-game flagrant foul, and that flagrant foul triggered the 4-point thing. No, I do not expect that to happen. But obviously, it's no. But there's moments where Victor loses it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And
is that a bad thing?
I mean, I don't want him pushing the star player of the Knicks into the ground like that. No, that's a dirty play. But I was more reacting to the fact that he laughed at him like that. It's part of it. Victor talks trash. Shumpert was telling me last night, like, Victor watches NBA Today, because after his press conference, he saw Shumpert. Let me just say what happened with Iman Shumpert yesterday. Mm-hmm. We did our NBA Today show. He was dressed in a gorgeous green and black ensemble. He got into the arena. I know, because I went in with him past the Secret Service. And then I saw him at the game time, and he was wearing a head-to-toe bright orange Walt Frazier / it was like
we saw him on the baseline.
It was like Walt Frazier and Spike Lee designed a suit together, and Shump was wearing it, and Wemby saw Shump wearing that and had something to say to him. I think it was quasi-playful. I mean, Shump telling the story, but Victor talks trash, and so there's a bit of a streak in his game like that. But look, I don't care what anything. You can't shove. First off, if I were the Knicks, I would be sending clips to the league about how Victor does screens. He shoves the guard on every screen. Like, not only is a push off, but like downward pressure shoves him to the ground. And like, that's what's driving the Knicks crazy. They're like, wait a minute. They're going to the foul line, and every screen Victor is shoving off. Like, and this is the nature of a playoff. First off, if there's somebody bitching about the officiating, you now know it's a series because now we're into it. And so now we've got a series in every regard.
Wemby has played more minutes than anybody in this series. He's averaging 39 minutes per game. One of the conversations around him in these playoffs, especially conference finals and NBA finals, is his energy level.
Yes,
what version of him do you expect to see in game 4 after what we got last night?
First off, I felt the 2 days off absolutely made a difference in the way he looked. Secondly, he did something he almost never does, at least in the playoffs. He played the whole fourth quarter last night. And I think the reason he was able to do that is because there was 3 stoppages for reviews, all of which were successful.
A couple fouls, yeah.
So those were all double timeouts. I mean, I think the fourth quarter last night took like 45 or 50 minutes in real time, and all the fouls. He got to rest during the game. Now, this is the last game in the series between 3 and 4 here where there's only 1 day off. After that, it's all travel. It's all 2 days off. So, the energy level he was expending in the first half, even at the end of the first half, after that, I thought he was slowing down at the end of the first half.
He was, yeah.
So, yes, I think that's absolutely something to watch, and I absolutely think that's a Knicks. The Knicks better take advantage of the short rest. I know he's only 22 years old, but he can only do so much. So I definitely think that's something to watch the rest of the series.
What else is something we should watch for game 4?
They've got to recalibrate and go back to the offense that involves Karl Towns more. The ball was never in his hands. The ball's got to come out of Brunson's hands. And I don't think he was like ball hogging. Like, I just think it was an important game. He was trying to win it. I don't think he was like, I'm not giving that guy the ball. I think they just needed to be recalibrated. They hadn't had a game like that for weeks on end, but they got to nip that in the bud.
Wendy, last thing from me, non-finals, but basketball related. You're a Cleveland Browns fan. How does their acquisition of Jared Verse potentially impact the NBA offseason?
I want to be honest with you, Kenny. I'd never heard of Jared Verse. Okay, I don't know anything about him, but I heard he's a 2-time All-Pro or All-Pro Bowler or something like that. And he's also young and he's under his rookie contract. If you look at what Jimmy Haslam and his group prioritized, multiple draft picks, young star under controlled contract. That has got to absolutely be the pathway for Giannis. And what I'm saying is star, not 3. I don't know who. The first guy I ever heard coin this phrase was Bill Simmons. He may not have invented it, but he talked about when you're trading a star, 4 quarters doesn't make a dollar. What that means is you have your star player, he's the dollar, you trade him, and they say, oh, here's 4 quarters for your star. It's not the same. The 4 quarters don't add up. You can go through star trades in history, and you can just see that doesn't make sense. It sounds like what that trade for the Myles Garrett trade was. That was like, how were we going to go with this analogy? That was like a 50-cent piece for the dollar, or whatever, because they wanted to make sure that they came out of it not only with draft stuff, but a player who could play for them and star for them right now, who's younger and they control the contract.
And they got that.
And there's some players who fit that. Now the Miami Heat might say, we feel that way about Tyler Hero. He's an all-star young guy. Actually, he's extension eligible, but and the Bucks might say, we feel that way about Jaylen Brown. So now look, just because you want something in a trade doesn't mean you're going to get it. But I think the fact that Jimmy Haslam is going to have his fingerprints all over both transactions, and he got a guy that all the Browns media is raving about this guy.
Good player.
So if you're raving about him, you're like, okay, that's, but you should think about that when you go to your trade machine and you put your trade together. You think that there's going to be a guy who's going to be accomplished today. This team for this year for the Bucks that would be coming back.
Brian Windhorst, Hoop Collective. You'll see him on Get Up at 8 a.m. Eastern. Wemby, you'll see him on NBA Today at 3 p.m. Eastern. And we'll see him tonight at the Gotham Comedy Club. Pat Costello, I'm over it next.